Have you ever had one of those days where everything is falling apart, and just when you think it can't get worse, your dog decides to act like the lead actor in a soap opera? No kidding. Some dogs know exactly how to turn even the smallest inconvenience into an Oscar-worthy performance. And this is the story of Max, my overly dramatic golden retriever, who quite literally outperformed me in every possible way. It all started on a rainy Tuesday morning. You know the type, the kind of morning where even coffee seems confused. I was late for work, struggling to untangle my umbrella, when I heard a long, sorrowful howl echo from the living room. "Not again," I groaned. I rushed in, half expecting some major disaster. There was Max, sprawled dramatically across the couch, one paw raised limply in the air like he was in the final scene of a tragic play. "What now, Max?" I asked, cautiously walking toward him. He didn't respond, just let out a faint, breathy whimper like his heart had been broken into 1,000 pieces. His eyes locked onto mine, wide and glistening with pure melodrama. I checked his paw. Nothing. I checked the other. Also fine. Then I saw it. His favorite squeaky toy had rolled 2 inches under the couch. 2 inches. Apparently, this was the end of the world. "Really, Max?" I sighed. He let out a yelp of despair that would make Shakespeare weep. I got down on all fours, pulled out the toy, and handed it to him. Instantly, like flipping a switch, he was up, tail wagging, squeaking that toy like nothing had ever gone wrong. The performance was over. Curtain call. Applause, anyone? That's when I knew this was going to be a pattern. Over the next few days, Max's antics grew more theatrical. One evening, I returned from the store to find him lying belly up on the kitchen floor, eyes rolled back like a dog possessed. "Max!" I yelled, dropping the groceries. He didn't move. My heart stopped. I dropped to the floor, panicked. And then he farted. Loudly. And blinked at me. He was just relaxing. Overly relaxed. And apparently proud. That's when I started recording him. Not for social media. At least not at first, but as evidence. Because no one believed me when I said my dog was basically a 4-legged drama king. Like the day he refused to walk because he saw a pigeon. Not even a threatening one. Just a mildly plump, confused pigeon sitting on a fence. Max froze. Then backed up. Then turned around and walked home. I was dragged with the leash still in my hand. It wasn't even fear. It was disdain. Max had decided he didn't do pigeons. My neighbors started noticing too. One evening, Mrs. Elkins from across the street called out, "Your dog all right, dear?" He was whining like he'd lost his best friend. "He dropped his biscuit in his water bowl," I explained. "Oh," she nodded knowingly. "Tragic." "Yes. Tragic." Max's overreactions didn't stop at food or toys. One time, I left him with my brother while I ran errands. When I came back, Max wouldn't look at me. At all. I called him. I sat down. I offered treats. Nothing. He turned his back to me like a betrayed lover. My brother whispered, "I think he's mad you left." "I was gone for 40 minutes, I said. "Still, you broke his heart." I couldn't believe it. My dog was giving me the silent treatment. Eventually, I apologized. Yes, I apologized to a dog. Only then did Max forgive me, climbing onto my lap and licking my nose like I had returned from the underworld. But perhaps the most outrageous moment was the day of the bath. He saw the shampoo bottle. He saw the tub. And then he ran. Not like a sprint. No, like a full-blown Hollywood chase scene. Down the stairs, across the living room, into the closet. Whimpers, dramatic flops, and finally, the most pitiful puppy eyes I've ever seen. But that deserves its own chapter. Because what happened next was so ridiculous, so over the top, that even I was speechless. To be continued. I finally caught him behind the laundry basket, pretending to be invisible. Yes, pretending. Because every time I peeked over the edge, he'd shut his eyes tight like a toddler playing hide and seek. "Max," I said, trying not to laugh, "you can't disappear by closing your eyes." No response. Just the tiniest twitch of a tail. I picked him up gently. He went limp, as if his soul had left his body the moment I touched the towel. His head flopped sideways, tongue peeking out, all the flair of a Shakespearean death scene. Into the tub he went, and oh, the drama. He whined. He howled. He placed one paw dramatically on the edge of the tub, as if pleading with an invisible jury. Water barely touched him, and he acted like I was pouring acid. It wasn't even cold. It was lukewarm, spa-level comfort. By the time the shampoo hit his fur, he was moaning. Not barking. Moaning. Long, exaggerated groans like a Victorian widow mourning her lost love. I swear if he had pearls, he would have clutched them. Halfway through, he attempted escape. He launched upward, gracefully, I'll admit, and slipped. His back legs kicked the air as he flopped over the side and landed dramatically in a pile of towels. I thought he'd broken something. But no. He just lay there, eyes blinking slowly, as if to say, "See what you've done?" I wrapped him in a towel and whispered, "You survived." Barely. He licked my nose in response. For the rest of the day, Max sulked. He refused to sit on his favorite blanket. He chose instead the cold hardwood floor, turning his head away every time I tried to pet him. As if to say, I need space. I made him dinner, his favorite. Chicken and rice with a splash of broth. He sniffed it, then turned away. He was punishing me. I felt like I'd betrayed him. Like I'd shaved his dignity along with the shampoo bubbles. Eventually he caved, he always did. But not before giving me one last theatrical sigh and curling up beside me like a wounded poet. That night something changed. Max started using his dramatic instincts not just for performance, but for manipulation. A few days later, we had guests. My aunt and uncle, both dog lovers. As soon as they walked in, Max turned on the act. He limped. Yes, limped. Slowly. Deliberately. My aunt gasped. "Oh no! What happened to his leg?" "Nothing," I said, already facepalming. "He's fine. He's just acting." But Max was committed. He walked with a limp all evening, until someone dropped a chip on the floor. Then he bolted for it full speed, no limp in sight. Everyone saw it. He froze, then went right back to limping, like he hoped they hadn't noticed. They did. We laughed so hard my uncle cried. From then on, Max's repertoire expanded. Fake yawns to guilt-trip me into sharing snacks. Whimpers at bedtime to get an extra blanket. Sad puppy eyes when someone else got attention. If there was an audience, Max performed. But there was one moment, one performance, that I'll never forget. It happened the night of the thunderstorm. We were watching a movie. Rain tapped softly on the windows. Then came the thunder, loud and sudden, like a giant slamming a door. Max, who had been snuggled on the couch, leapt into my lap, trembling. His ears flattened. His entire body shook. He looked up at me like I was his last hope. "It's okay, buddy," I whispered, wrapping my arms around him. But he wouldn't stop shaking. Then something incredible happened. He placed his head on my chest, sighed, and closed his eyes. Not in fear. In trust. That night, I realized Max's drama wasn't just for show. It was how he communicated. How he felt safe. He wasn't being ridiculous. He was just wearing his emotions on the outside, the way some people cry at movies or laugh too loud at jokes. Max was emotional, sensitive, expressive, and I loved him for it. Even if he did pretend to faint when I told him he couldn't have my toast. But the biggest performance of all was still coming. And I didn't see it coming. To be continued. A few weeks after the thunderstorm, Max started acting different. Quieter. He still had his moments, of course. A little growl here, a dramatic sigh there. But the usual flair, the outrageous overreactions, the fake limps, the over-the-top performances, they started to fade. I chalked it up to age. After all, Max was no puppy anymore. Maybe he was just maturing. Maybe the days of Oscar the dog were behind us. But deep down, I knew something had changed. One Saturday morning, Max didn't get out of bed when I opened the fridge. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Because food was Max's stage. He lived for the chance to beg, to whine, to pretend he hadn't eaten in years. And now, silence. I rushed him to the vet. Tests, scans, quiet conversations in softly lit rooms. It turned out to be something slow, creeping, and hard to stop. A condition that affected his joints and energy, and eventually, his heart. The vet said we had weeks, maybe a couple of months. And in that moment, all the drama that had once driven me crazy suddenly felt sacred. I started recording him again. Not for laughs this time. For memories. Each sigh. Each tail flick. Each slow, exaggerated attempt to reach the toy on the other side of the room. I treasured them all. He became gentler in his final weeks. Still expressive, still Max, but softer. As if he knew he didn't need to prove anything anymore. He had loved. He had been loved. He had made us laugh more times than we could count. And on one quiet morning, as the sun crept through the window, Max laid his head on my lap. I stroked his fur. Told him he was the best boy. The most dramatic. The most unforgettable. He gave me one last, long, theatrical sigh. And he was gone. No pain. No fear. Just peace. The house was quiet after that. Too quiet. But every time I passed his favorite blanket, or found one of his toys behind the couch, or caught myself reaching for 2 slices of toast instead of 1, I smiled. Because Max hadn't just been a dog. He had been a performer, a companion, a teacher. He taught me to pay attention, to laugh at the little things, to make space for emotions, dramatic or not. And more than anything, he taught me this. Love doesn't have to be quiet to be real. Some of us love loudly, with whines and flops and fake injuries, with squeaky toys and dramatic exits. And that's okay, because whether it's in a grand gesture or a silent moment, love always finds a way to be known. Max made sure of that. So if you ever find yourself annoyed at your pet's antics, or even someone else's emotions, pause for a second. Maybe they're not being dramatic. Maybe they're just trying to be understood. And if you're lucky, you'll understand them. Just like I understood Max. My dog. My drama king. My heart. Forever.